So today is a Fiat day. We've got Uno, Dos, and Tres, and we've got Clayton with us.
Hi.
So he's going to be showing us these products. We've actually just finished polishing this up. We thought we'd try to recover it. It's mostly Clayton over here. I've never polished a car. I'm too lazy. But he'll be showing us these products and showing us how to do it. And yeah, sure.
So basically this paint wasn't great, and if you see in the video later, we didn't really do much of the usual prep work that you do on good paint, because this car has been repainted with single stage paint and it had a lot of oxidation. So in some places we had to use sandpaper and get it off. So we tried to get it the best we could without putting in extra effort that wouldn't yield that good of results. So first you basically clean your bonnet, make sure it's as clean as possible. If you do have clay bar, use clay bar. With soap we didn't, because it wouldn't make a difference on this paint. Some of it had oxidation here, so we sanded that out with 600 wet sanding. Use WD-40 if you're using 600, and if you're using 1000, normal soap water would do. And then after that, basically what you need is a cutting compound. That's the first one I've reused. So that's a little
this
bit,
is the
yeah, so
cutting
that's a bit of a coarse cut that will cut a bit into the paint and reveal the fresher paint or clear coat underneath. In this case there's no clear coat because it's single stage paint, so we had yellow color coming off. After that, you can either do that by hand or with a machine that we used. Make sure you use separate pads for each compound. There's also different types of pads, but maybe we can make another video of that later. So after that, we used a finer polish. That's more like a glaze that gets the scratches out even more.
Okay.
It's more like a finer finish.
Oh, for deep reflections.
For deep reflections, yes.
Okay.
And then the final step, usually wax. I had this with me, so we used it. It's kind of a ceramic wax. It's not proper ceramic coating, and it's not as hard as a proper ceramic coating, but it's a combination of a wax and a ceramic coating that will last a few months and gives a decent gloss. So all the water beading that you see and the stage we got it to is quite good for the amount of effort we put in. It's not great by any means, but it is much better than what it was.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to have to paint this soon. The paint is already deteriorated. And apart from that, we just tried to recover it for maybe a year or two. I'm not sure how long do you think it'll last? So yeah, we've got our Unos too. We started up my Uno after 3 months. So that's a petrol and this is a diesel. And I'll also be showing you guys around this car. We'll be driving it. And we'll also be talking about what to look at if you want to pick up an Uno. So roughly, Clayton, how much do you think nowadays, Uno is a great budget project, right? It could be a project if it's petrol, like we were talking about, because that's so much more. We'll probably try something out. But in Uno as a first car, how much do you see them going for nowadays? I know we've picked up, I've picked up one. I got one for about 30K. It was a similar, so this is metallic.
Wine red.
Wine red, right? And what was mine?
Yours was fiery red.
Fiery red, okay. So that was something I picked up for around 35,000. And it was a running car, it was diesel, but it was a lot rougher. It was not as rough as mine, but it was it was a rough car. In this case, it's a nice clean car. It came from Bangalore, so it doesn't have much
I bought
rust.
this car in 2015. I paid 72,000 for it, but it was mint. It was really well maintained. I had all the service history from the first owner. It had new engine mounts, new control arms, suspension imported from Italy, and it was rust free because it was a Bangalore car. I drove this car for around 70 to 80,000 kilometers after that. So it was my daily driver until a while ago. So it's taken a good beating. I've had long distance trips, 5 trips to Gujarat, a trip to Ooty.
I'm guessing that didn't
Kerala,
cost you much though, right?
Trivandrum.
These give
No.
amazing mileages.
So even with the AC on, I used to get like 21, that doing 120 to 140 on the highways. And it ran on biodiesel for most of the time that I owned it.
Okay, that's something you make, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah.
Do you have to blend biodiesel or do you run it straight in
So
yours?
you can blend it in any percentage, especially with these older diesels, and eventually you can go up to 100% blend, and you can switch between diesel and biodiesel at any time. There's no mods needed.
Okay. So a biodiesel is not the same. I know we're going a bit off the topic of Fiats, but biodiesel isn't the same as what some people use as just cooking oil
No,
and
it's
try to
not.
heat
It's
that
not.
up, right?
So most people call that biodiesel, but that's what we start with. So we chemically react to the vegetable oils.
So you've got a factory or something for that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So we convert them into esters. So that's basically what biodiesel is. It's an ester.
Okay. So that's not harming your engine. Like I've heard that process, if you're using cooking oil, it slowly clogs up your
Yes,
injectors,
because
right?
cooking oil, the thing is when people use cooking oil, it has a lot of impurities and people don't filter it out well. Also, it's thicker, the viscosity is much higher. So it tends to coke up the injectors, and in cold weather, you have your issues. But with biodiesel, once we react it, it's very similar to petroleum diesel in terms of viscosity. It does have gelling issues at low temperatures. So that's where you can blend diesel and get rid of those gelling issues. It also has higher lubricity, higher cetane. There's no smoke. So that takes care, and it's a renewable fuel, so it's a clean burning fuel.
Okay, that's great. So yeah, show us around the car. Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, so this has been my daily for many years.
Till you got an adventure.
Yeah, till I started the adventure project. Maybe more about that later.
Was that an adventure?
Yeah, that's an understatement.
So yeah, we've got this here. Yeah, tell us about it.
So it's a diesel. It's a 1.7 liter naturally aspirated diesel. This is a 99 Uno S. So the S came with power steering, a Sony music system, 4 speakers.
Does yours still have that?
Yes, it still does. I don't have the head unit in because I'd taken the dashboard off.
Okay.
So when I got this car, it was really clean. There were like no imperfections. I didn't have to maintain anything. The only thing I did was oil changes over the last 5 years. Until recently, where I had to change one control arm, engine mount, the usual timing belt changes.
But you get these parts, right? They're not unavailable.
You do get these parts. If you know where to buy them from me. So they're available, and as far as you can, if you get these cars, try to use original parts, because once you use an original part, you're like trouble free for the next 10 years. Whereas the aftermarket ones tend to wear out within a year, and you end up spending more money buying them 2 to 3 times.
Yeah. I hear about some people using local parts and cannibalizing them on original parts, right? Like they take the ball joints and they pop it off of the lower arm. The lower arm is a full unit, for example,
Yeah,
on
so
this,
the
right?
lower arm, you get a full unit. Like some of the lower arms, one of my lower arms was original until a few years ago. It was 18 years old. So that lasted 18 years old, 18 years. And now the car has crossed over 2 lakh kilometers. This is original paint. Probably, maybe I'll restore it in a while once I save up some money to do it.
After the paint, what are you thinking of doing?
So my ultimate goal for this would be a resto mod, sleeper, maybe a newer multi-jet engine, coilovers,
Do they fit?
bigger wheels. Yeah, they should. So basically the multi-jet is based on the Fire platform,
Okay.
and the 1 liter petrol you have in that is a Fire engine, so you could basically use the same mounts. The gearbox would mate up. Maybe a few adjustments here and there, but should fit.
So yeah, let's go through some of the things that somebody should look at when they're trying to buy one, because these are really budget-friendly first cars for people. They're economic to run fuel-wise as well.
So if you're buying one, you'll most likely find a diesel because the petrols are really rare. Only the final ones, 2003, 2004, those are 1.2 liters. Most of them are 1 liters if you at all find a petrol. The first thing to look for is rust.
Okay.
So I got my car in Bangalore and it was rust free. So at one point of time, so when my car was rust free, it was like it didn't have all of this. So once I got it to Goa over the last 5 years, even after taking care of it, this is a common rust area. It's very prone to rust in this area. The bottom of the doors. So this is the part where I park it close to the plants at home in the garage, so it gets the moisture from there. Check the floors, check if water is getting into the car. Usually you have the front drains blocked, so water comes in through the AC unit. But it's really difficult finding a rust-free example in Goa. That would what my opinion would be. Apart from that, I had once taken apart the entire interiors to check for rust. Luckily there wasn't any, but I got my AC unit serviced then. So I still haven't put some of the stuff back, like some of the wires need to go back into their original clips. The AC went, but apart from that, like the cover under the steering column needs to go back.
So those aren't things that are really critical, right? They're not things that are hard to get. I think taillights...
I actually have all of these,
Yeah.
so I've just not had the time to put it back.
I guess things like taillights, indicators, those are things that tend to go missing or break often, right?
Yes. So
I've
the
noticed-
tail lights over time now, mine are 22 years old. They were in great shape, but then they started disintegrating when I parked the car and it was getting sun every day. So one day I just hit this with my hand, trying to push it back in, and it cracked. I do have replacements. I have not put them back in yet.
Well, mine looks so much nicer.
Does it?
Yeah.
So you can check if the tail light is an original tail light. You'll usually have the Fiat embossing here.
Okay. Oh yeah, we can see that here.
So I think this one is it. Oh, it is. It is. It is.
Oh, my car's so
So
special.
if as far as you can, you try mine not original for your information. As far as you can, try to get the original tail lamps because you get an aftermarket company called Sweet Trade. They usually fade in a year.
What are they called?
Sweet Trade,
Oh.
and it has ST written on it. I don't know why, but they fade from the inside.
So I think Fiats have a lot of fading problems with their clear coat or something. Because I've noticed this a lot, especially with bonnets.
So bonnets, what happens is I've noticed a lot of people remove the under bonnet insulation. It's the engine heat. That's what happened to mine.
Okay.
So I managed to find a nice insulation in a scrapyard. So I just put that on my car,
Mhm.
and that solved the bonnet fading issues. So here you see someone has. Deep, have you done this?
No, I got it like this.
So this is the rust that someone has just filled in with body fill. I'm pretty sure we take this off, we'll find a hole underneath. So
Yeah, so this is another area. I guess the sills are quite
yeah.
something that goes on this, right? I think this sill is much better. Let's check it out. Yeah. It's urinating. Yeah, but if you can see the interiors on this is it's much rougher, but still the quality on this is so much nicer than a lot of Marutis. I'm not a Maruti hater. Okay, I am a bit of one, but you can see
But
that
for the time, the quality was
this
leagues
was
apart.
this
You
was
couldn't compare. So
this was like
when I took this car apart, it had like 1, 2, 3 layers of insulation under the mats. So there's first the melt sheets, and then you have thick insulation, and then there's the carpets. So there was a lot of stuff to put back. So this is kind of my mobile office. So I have a lot of my stuff in it. Don't mind.
Okay.
But you can see, like, that's how the floor looks. You can open that door.
Yeah. Your parcel tray looks a lot nicer than mine. And this is something that I really find cool. A lot of them don't have it,
A
right?
rear washer wiper.
Yeah.
Number plate light.
Yeah, but this only came in the top model or something.
Yeah,
That's
it was
another
the
thing you should look out for, right?
Top end model, yeah.
Yeah. So you should be, when you're buying one, you should be looking at rust. You should be looking at.
Yeah, try to get the most features. Like mine has power steering.
I think also the radiator on the diesels, that has to be original, right? That's something you're telling me about.
So a lot of people replaced it with aftermarket ones, and the cavity for this temperature sensor isn't made properly. So you'd have a lot of erratic temperature changes. So try to get one with an original radiator as possible because it just makes everything run better. So I was really lucky to get one where the engine bay was mint. It's dirty now. I don't want to show it to you. So maybe Deep can put in a photo. I'll send him a photo of it. So
it's here.
yeah, it's here. So yeah, overall it's been a very nice experience. These cars handle really well.
Yeah.
If you have the original suspension in.
So this isn't. Yeah, I guess this is something with the Golf too, right? I guess do these break often? The door handles.
It depends because they tend to break because people tend to open them wrongly. So these have a button. People tend, because of the newer cars, they tend to pull this handle. But even with the newer cars, if you use the same motion and you just apply force with your thumb, that handle would open as well as this. So don't pull the handles. Apply force with your thumb.
Okay. And how about these mirrors? I see a lot of them having bad mirrors and.
So what happens is the joints here are aluminium and some of them corrode.
Okay.
Or some of them have metal fatigue. They tend to break. Many people have aftermarket mirrors. The base models don't have the passenger side mirror, so look out for that as well. So what some people do is they take the driver side mirror and flip it around, but the aspect ratio is different, so it looks a bit odd. Yeah, and you know the mirrors have the adjustable nipple on the inside. There was something for its time.
What are you twisting over there? That's the nipple?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, deep.
And I think that's a lot.
So the later cars came with clear indicators. I was fortunate enough to find original Carello ones.
Okay.
So I replaced mine had orange,
Okay.
being a 99. So I was able to replace those. These headlights are brand new. I got them at Fiat. They look a bit dirty now, but I need to clean them up.
Okay. Yeah, what else would somebody have to look at when they're picking one
So
up?
basically the diesels don't require much maintenance. It's just frequent oil changes and change the timing belt often.
Okay.
Apart if it's running well. So try to get one that the pump has not been touched, because the older cars had the pump made in Spain. The later ones were made in India. And the guys here don't know how to calibrate it really well. So it's kind of shitty once they've touched it. So try to get one with power steering if you can, because the diesel is really heavy. I've driven one with manual steering. It's not bad, but if you're buying one, try to get the most out of it. The racks tend to leak if the car has been sitting for a long. So check for leakages. Usually, a lot of cars have leaks.
And I think it's quite a pain to fix, right? They don't get fixed as such, right?
See, usually here they don't do a good job. Maybe abroad they do, but not here. So what I would suggest is you can also fit a Palio rack, provided you change the inner and outer tie rod ends.
Okay.
You can get Palio racks at the scrapyard. It's really common, rather than searching for this. And yeah, that would work. That would be a quick fix. So going for these cars now, unless you find a really clean example, if you have something that needs a bit of work, I think you should be inclined to also doing things smart. Like the Palio rack, for example, rather than buying a new Uno rack, or a new Palio rack is around 28,000 rupees. You can get a decent rack for maybe 2,000 rupees at the scrapyard.
So is that the same as that Palio that I have, or is it the same as the next gen? I forget what that's called. There's this next gen of Palios.
It's the same.
It's the same as that one as well.
It's just cosmetic changes.
Okay.
It's the same. So that would be a good fix. So you need to know how to fix stuff like that. There's a lot of parts that are common also.
So what's, I guess, if you're looking at this, which is from 1990, 1996.
The car was launched in 83.
Yeah, and we probably got the old stampings or something from some country or the other.
So
that's
from
possible.
83 to 89 was the first gen. This is the second gen from 89 to 93 in the UK and the rest of Europe. So 95 they just recycled the old parts, sent it here, got the moldings here. So that's when this car was launched here. So even after being an old discontinued car, I feel a lot of things were ahead of its time. Being launched in India, we were quite far behind in the automotive sector at that point of time.
So with the power, like for example, with the power steering, we have a car which is basically from the late 90s, and we have a Palio which is from the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
So you would, if you went to a scrapyard, you would get a part which is probably 10 years younger, right?
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
So that is a great option, is what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Instead of maybe you don't need a new part. You don't need a completely old part out of an Uno is another thing, right? Because if you get something out of a car like this, I'm sure
it's liable to leak.
It's just risky as well, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's better to just go for something that's slightly...
I think the petrols, they never came with power steering. There are a lot of differences, like the petrols don't have an anti-roll bar underneath. This has an anti-roll bar because of the extra engine weight. Or these just handle better and are more fun to drive. So, and they're fuel efficient. So if you're going for one, get the diesel and try to get all the features in it. The AC. Yeah, the AC is one thing because it's an older R12 system. They tend to leak out when using R134 because the gas molecules are smaller than R134. So otherwise it's fine. What else?
Yeah, let's take them for a spin.
Sure. We're taking both.
So you have to start off with turning the key. This has that feature, right, where you turn the key once, and once the car is on, the oil, the glow plugs went off. So it has this feature where you turn the key once and you can't turn it again.
Yeah,
right?
so that's like all European cars.
Okay. Ain't no Maruti. Yeah, your dash looks beautiful. Did you use something on it?
Yeah, but when I got the car, like I said, it was mint, so just little spruce up and clean. So the car's not really running great because I had the injection pump rebuilt here in Goa, which was terrible. So if you want to get these pumps rebuilt, there's a guy in Miraj who does it like really well. So it's running a bit rough, the timing's off, it's a bit advanced. Okay. The injectors need cleaning because I kept it sitting for a while actually.
So yeah, I guess I think I should...
Don't short shift.
It's much nicer. It was much nicer the last time I drove this. That might have been about a year and a half ago, right? Or two?
Yes.
And
that's what happens when you neglect your cars.
Yeah. Tell me about it. So I guess you have to just work on it a bit, and things will free up, right? Because this is a pump out of another car, right? And it needed some work. It needs to be run in basically, right?
Yes.
So I think it'll free up once you use clean it out with some new fuel and stuff like that, right? Yeah. So it feels quite light. The steering doesn't feel too heavy, as you were telling me.
Yeah, power steering.
Everyone's wondering what that contraption on my head is. So we've got this slightly quirky setup of controls. You've got the indicator over here. This is the
Headlights, yes.
headlights, and these are the wipers. And I think this has some sort of mechanism inside, right?
For?
Where you can't activate the. You can't put on the
Headlights once the key is off.
No. Oh, okay. No, there was something else where it's kind of locked. You can't press it down unless the headlights are on, right?
Yes. You can't put the high beam on. You can flash, but you can't take it down. So how it works is, this is the parking lights.
Yeah.
One more level is the headlights, and now you can use the high beam. This is the high beam.
Yeah. So
And if you just want to flash, you can pull it forward.
I guess this is the reason why a lot of them are getting scrapped, because they're probably too complicated for roadside mechanics, right? I think that might be the problem.
Unless the guy is like a Fiat specialist and he knows his way around the car,
Yeah.
he's going to mess your car up.
I guess there are a lot of other
Especially
things.
with cars like the 1.6,
Yeah.
the timing on that.
And there are some special tools, right? That's another problem.
Yes, so you need those special timing tools to lock the cams in place.
Okay.
A lot of people scrap the cars because they couldn't time them properly.
Yeah, and I guess even changing the belt a lot can go wrong. That happened to me in my first rebuild. So my car, my S10, I got it with some transporters, and they overheated the engine. They were supposed to drop it, like give it to me on a truck, but they drove it. And these cars have a lot of problems with their cooling systems, right? I think this has a bad thermostat as well.
No, this is fine. I've never had problems with heat.
No,
The
I
only
mean
thing
in
is-
general with the Unos.
No, not really.
No?
But a lot of people, when it does come time to change the thermostat, a stupid thing they do is they just cut the thermostat out and they put it back in.
Yeah, but there must be a bigger problem for diesels, right? Because they won't
No,
get to that
that's
optimal
yes,
temperature.
Yeah, so you'll have a lot of carbon build-up. Now, my temperature might go a bit higher than usual is because I've taken the AC condenser out.
Okay.
And that has another fan on it. So one fan's missing.
So I guess like on my diesel, when I had it, I noticed that the temperature was much higher. The engine was kind of
So
bad.
you had an aftermarket radiator.
Yeah.
And that's what will happen when you have an aftermarket radiator. The chamber for the sensor doesn't have the optimum flow, like it doesn't have the cavity to keep the water there long enough.
Mhm.
So it gives you a false reading. And also because the side tanks are metal, a lot of that temperature transfers onto the sensor. So these tanks are plastic.
Okay.
It's like a modern car radiator. It has plastic tanks on the side.
I believe they're hard to get as well, right? The original
Right
radiators.
now it's impossible to get. Even for me,
Mhm.
I managed to get 1, 2.
Mhm. So yeah, Clayton's my man when it comes to Fiat parts. I just give him a call and say, what do I do? Where do I get this? And he'll send me the part. So yeah, check out his page over here. One second.
Materialize.
So yeah, but this is quite a nice car to have as a first car. I'm pretty sure it keeps up with traffic. It's got a
does.
great mileage. Like when I was in college, I'm sure I would have really appreciated a great mileage, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I got this in my final year of college. And the diesel was like 45 rupees in Bangalore that time.
And now it's what?
I remember I used to pay 100 rupees of diesel, go to the city which was 22 kilometers away and come back. So my friends used to also put 100 rupees petrol in their bikes. So I had the comfort of my car with the AC.
Yeah, but it's quite a comfortable car compared to a Maruti. I feel like it's like the quality of plastics.
No,
that's
it's
something.
leagues apart. There's no
Yeah.
comparison for what was available from Maruti at the time, because the Maruti 800 even came without floor carpets and insulation. It just had mats,
Yeah.
from what I know. So the layers of insulation in this far exceed what was there at the time, available at the time.
Yeah, and another thing is that I've noticed is the quality of plastics in Fiats deteriorated. They
So-
should. I believe like if
Yeah,
they
the
kept up
quality
with
of
this
these-
quality.
the quality is much like, and this is soft touch, so it's actually soft if you press it.
Yeah.
So the quality kept deteriorating because people expected a certain price point. You know, European cars in India were quite expensive, I feel, for people, because in India a lot of like the 800 came without floor insulation was to keep the cost down, because they were targeting a majority of the market. And you know, people here didn't have those standards where they wanted all the luxuries. They were happy to have a set of 4 wheels to get them from point A to point B.
Yeah, if they wanted something luxurious, they would buy a German car, right? They would
Yes.
buy a Mercedes
And
or a
a lot of
Skoda.
affluent families at the time did buy European cars that
Yeah,
were available.
yeah.
They would either import or get them here somehow.
And there is quite a large number of Unos and Palios in Goa to be.
Yes,
A lot of people have
in
noticed
fact,
that.
The Uno still holds the record today. I think it was 2.5 lakh, 80,000 bookings in 2 days. So people had to wait over 2 years to get their car. So a lot of them did sell in Goa, and there's still a lot of them in Goa today on the roads. Most of them being used for refuge because of the reliability, the diesel and the fuel economy.
Yeah, and also the prices, because nobody really appreciates them.
Yes.
Their prices are really low, and I think it's like a Fiat's a great car to have if you get one in a good condition.
Good condition, and you use original parts to maintain it.
Yeah.
Another fun fact about the Uno is it's based on the Lancia Delta platform.
Okay.
So the Lancia Delta Integrale is one of the rally legends that still holds a record today for winning 4, if not 5, I think it was 6 continuous World Rally Championships in a row.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was from 86 to 92 or something like that.
So what does that mean? Basically, whatever's under the car, the underpinnings, they're the same.
So a lot of things are fit. So in Europe, a lot of people put the 2-liter turbocharged engine from the Integrale into this, the all-wheel drive system. It needs a few mods, but it's there.
I guess it's like converting an Indian Lancer to an Evo, right?
Yes,
like
kind
what
of,
they do.
yeah,
They probably
kind of the same thing.
Yeah, they probably chop off the flooring in the back, put a smaller tank or a tank that.
No, actually none of that needs to be done. It's just
Really?
a few things because the drive shafts need to fit in. So it's just the mounting points.
Okay.
So basically the whole 4-wheel all-wheel drive system is not straightforward bolt-on. You just need to make the mounting points, and the track is a bit wider.
Okay.
If you look at the Integrale, especially the Evo 2, the final iteration of it, it has wider wheel arches to accommodate that wider track. So you'd have to go Rocket Bunny style on an Uno to accommodate that wider track.
Yeah, that's something I'd really like to try out, because you get, like for example, my Uno, I got it for about 11,000 with valid paperwork and insurance, which is really great. And I think we could probably put in that 1.6 we were talking about. We could put in, it's a twin cam engine, it gives about 100 horsepower. That how heavy is this car?
This car is 750 kgs for the petrol, and I think the diesel is 900.
Okay, so 750 kgs, maybe we'll add a bit for all the other stuff, right? Maybe the other block is heavier. What do you think?
For the 1.6?
Yeah?
I think it would be around the same weight. No, the 1.6 would be a little bit heavier because the 1-liter petrol engine in the Uno is like a paperweight.
Yeah. That is, so the 1 liter is a fire engine, right?
Yeah, so FIRE stands for fully integrated robotized engine. So it was their design philosophy at the time to use common mounting points, common parts, less moving parts, so that when whatever engines were designed with the FIRE philosophy would have the same tooling in the factory, same mounting points across platforms, so it was easier to use more parts over longer generations of engines. Like even the T-Jet is actually a 1.4 FIRE.
Okay.
So FIRE engine, they still continue it forward.
So I'm guessing, like, even if the mounting points had changed, they would have left off little holes that you would have to tap,
there's
right?
certain things that cross, you tap them, or like there's certain things cross platform that adapt, need a bit of fiddling, but it can get done with less work than you would have to do fabricating something completely new. Like for example, the 1.6 from the Palio, that's not a FIRE engine.
That's not a fire engine.
That's not a FIRE engine.
So that is a
that's
different.
why that has a different mounting point. If you look at the Palio, the mountings from underneath.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things that's different in that. Another thing about this car is it's really fun on the ghats and on curvy roads.
I guess the gearing is great for that, right?
It's not just the gearing, it's the handling is really nice.
Okay.
After having 145 section tires on it, it still grips really nicely. It feels very direct.
Okay.
Your turns, it doesn't understeer too much. I think part of it is because this has an anti-roll bar. The petrol doesn't, compared to the petrol.
So I could fit one of those, right?
Yeah, you could fit one. It's bolt-on.
Okay.
So another thing is the wheel spacing on this is different. They've taken the wheel to the extremities. I think that helps with the handling, but the turning radius is rubbish.
Yeah, I think we'll take a 3-point turn. I hope it doesn't turn into a 5-point or something. Go check that out. So yeah, we're just taking you around the village, but you can't see it from this side. I've got the GoPro over there. Yeah, but I think if I had this as my first car instead of the Sierra, I'd probably have kept it, because this is something I could see lasting. The quality is much better.
And these engines, I've seen examples that have gone up to 7-8 lakh kilometers in my mechanic's workshop, and he's opened the oil pan. He was actually changing out the sump gasket, and he actually took one of the bearings off, the crank bearings, to show me, and they looked as good as new.
Okay.
So if you keep up with the oil changes, these engines just keep going.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna try to do a 3-point turn or a 1-point turn. Let's see.
Deep is cheating. He's going to place where there's already a turn, so it's easy to. Yeah, they go to a place where the road is really wide, where you can actually do just a turnaround.
Okay, let's keep this car in one piece. What were you saying? This is great. Look at it. It turns perfectly. Yeah, I haven't driven a diesel in a long time. I think that's another problem. It sounds way too noisy.
So it's noisy because the injectors and the pump are from another car.
Okay.
And it's not proper. My car was never this noisy. So what's happening is the fuel is getting injected a bit too early. It's causing the detonation and causing the knock. And one of the injectors is a bit clogged, so it's not firing at its right time. Intervals.
Oh, we're at Corona.
So what I'm going to do is take these injectors out. I actually have a spare set. I'll take the spare set to the workshop guy. So the mechanical injectors, they have a spring that's loaded with tension, and when the fuel pressure exceeds that spring tension and pushes the pintle up, the fuel gets sprayed out. So what I'm going to do is increase that spring tension so that the injector pops at maybe 130 or 140 bar.
Okay.
So right now it's set at 120 if I'm not mistaken, the factory setting.
Okay.
So what that will do is give it a finer spray of mist, so allow better combustion. And that retards the timings a bit because the injector tends to pop a bit later because it requires the higher pressure, a few milliseconds later. So then that gives you room to advance the timings a bit more, so that will make it run smoother and get a bit more power out of it. And it's like, you know, a mechanical remap if you must.
So yeah, we were talking about the Fiats, right, and how the fire engine is, you know, basically it's the structure of the engine that's the same. Probably the bare block is exactly the same.
The bare block, yeah. So the block will have certain things that are tapped for all fire engines.
Okay.
So even the newer multi-jets are based on the fire engines. So they have like certain dimensions, so that, you know, the tooling fits.
Okay.
On the assembly line, certain things fit. The power steering pumps fit, screw in a particular way. The alternators are in the same place. So that's what the fire engine philosophy is about. So just to make manufacturing easier and cheaper over a longer period of time.
So I guess that also makes engine swaps a possibility, right?
Yes,
That's something
so
we were thinking.
That's what makes engine swaps possible. Like I was
possible, everything's possible. It just makes it easier.
It just makes it easier.
Yeah. So yeah, we have a 1.6 out of a spare car that we had picked up. Hopefully I have a little clip of how we took that apart.
I think we have some clips, yeah.
So we took that apart at my place. That was like a donor car. We got a lot of parts out of that. So that's, I think, a really good thing that you could do nowadays is you could go to a breaker, a scrapyard, and you could pick up whatever you need very easily, right?
Yes, so that's what I was mentioning earlier about working smart rather than buying things brand new. Things like, certain things like the trim pieces, for example, they don't undergo stress and degrade in any way. You don't need, like, if it's a critical mechanical component like a mount or a control arm, yes, then by all means buy something brand new. But if it's something that doesn't matter functionally and it's just aesthetic, you can get pretty good deals at scrapyards. But even for stuff like, let's say a piece of metal like a subframe that doesn't get damaged and yours happened to be damaged. Instead of buying something brand new and that piece of metal just doesn't move, it's just a structural piece. And if it's in good shape, you can just get it from a scrapyard.
Yeah, because there are some things that degrade due to abnormality, right? Like for example, if something is hit
or an accident, you go through a pothole, you bend your subframe, an accident, or at least an accident.
I'm sure. So that's easy. You could just, it's like a normal car, but the thing is they're going for so cheap, as we were saying. So it's a great project car.
That's what I mentioned. You also need to be into this a bit. You need to have the time, the patience. It should be something that you're willing to put the effort into. Because a lot of people will just dump it with a mechanic, and they wouldn't end up doing it to the standard it should be done to unless the guy is like really dedicated to doing it that way. So then it ends up, being a waste of money, and then you end up scrapping it all over again. The cycle continues.
Yeah, I guess it's important to be hands-on if you're picking up something like this. Otherwise, you should just get a new car. That makes it far easier, right? But
Yeah.
I think the whole hobby of
Where's
getting
the fun in getting
Yeah.
Anyone can buy a new car.
yeah, but I guess getting a used car like this and putting your hands into it, that's a complete different thing. If you're ready for that, great project, great thing to start with. You could probably, the 1.6 might fit in. We'd have to try that out. Maybe it'll pair directly to the gearbox. That's something
Yeah.
we'd have to
I
find.
think it does. And
Yeah.
an interesting thing is the Palio cluster also fits in directly here. It's the same shape.
Yeah. So the Palio is actually a lower model than the Uno?
The Palio was actually designed to be a budget car for developing countries. So
Okay.
very few of them were sold in Europe, and even those have changes. So if you go to the Fiat parts catalog, they have a model platform 178 X Europa. So the X Europa catalog has different parts,
Okay.
like the subframe, the suspension is slightly different. So the Palio was meant for South Africa, for China, for India,
Okay.
for South America, for developing countries. So they cut down on a lot of things. Like if you look at the door cards, they're not into full door cards.
Yeah.
So they-
Like
they
the
have
Adventure,
door
for
cards.
example.
Yes, the Adventure has full door cards because it was meant to be a little more premium offering of the Palio.
Mhm.
And certain models of the Palio abroad did have full door cards.
Uh-huh.
But in countries like India, where they had to be very competitive with the price, there were a lot of things that have cut down. Like even the Uno, for example, in Europe, you had options of ABS.
I'm pretty sure these slots had some function,
yeah. So
right?
this is for front fog lamps.
Okay.
You had options for ABS. You had options for traction control.
Traction control on something this old?
Yes. So the 1.4 turbocharged Uno Turbo had
Oh.
traction control as an option. Even
Okay.
that was really rare. It had headlight washers.
So basically, if we took in a Bath engine or a T-Jet engine and put it into one of these,
We could actually build our own version of the Uno Turbo.
Yeah,
It didn't have a T-Jet. It had an older predecessor to the T-Jet. But it would be like a modern resto mod tribute to the Uno Turbo.
a 4-door version.
Yes, a photo version.
Maybe we could weld the back doors and do something like that. Don't make those faces. We've got a MIG welder now.
Can you wear it?
Sorry. I think so. So yes, we're taking you around this sleepy village in Goa. It's not so sleepy. Everyone's supposed to be in their
The current
houses,
situation,
including us.
COVID and lockdown. Coronavirus.
I think that the quality of plastics, we were talking about this earlier, right?
Yes.
I've noticed that the Palio is not as nice as this. Like this finish, this
feels solid.
Yeah, this feels great. The Palio doesn't
So
feel
that's
as
what
good.
I mentioned. It was meant to be a budget car.
But then why is the Punto so bad? Because there are things like,
so
these
if
grab handles.
If you see the European Punto and the Indian Punto, there is a plastic difference there. Also, even in Europe, they saw that the Punto was selling mass market.
Okay.
So they compromise on things like plastic quality. The Punto is known for ratty plastics even in Europe. It's known for
Really?
just being boggy at plastics. Apart from the few Abarths that are not that popular in the UK, but those who have them do appreciate them a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe rest of Europe, I think they're much more popular. So it's not just Fiat. A lot of manufacturers tend to, compromise on plastics because that's when you look at the car, that's not something that people see. You can see it there, but then you don't tend to knock on it.
I'm guessing that was kind of a trend with consumer cars in the 2000s.
Yes.
If you notice that even they say a Mercedes was built to a price after the 2000s, but that was kind of because of the
what's
ownership.
happening today is it's a lot of planned obsolescence as well.
Yeah.
Like in the earlier days, the products were built to last because they wanted customers to have faith in the brand.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a huge market because it was a clean slate. Nobody had a car. You wanted them to own your car, so you make the best. But now everyone has a car. You want them to buy a new car, otherwise you don't have sales.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of planned obsolescence even with newer cars like VWs. Things like are designed to fail, like your steering racks fail at a certain kilometers. So they make you buy a new rack. They don't even change the tie rod ends in some cases.
Even on a Mercedes, on a 124, I don't know if it was a problem that they didn't look at properly. They were trying to maybe use non-harmful materials.
Yeah, the
to make
biodegradable wiring.
Yes. So I'm not sure if it was a mistake or it was purposely done. We never know, right? Maybe it was a quality problem. But
So
these things are all
what I feel
showing
is
up.
planned obsolescence isn't bad, because we have a population increase, people need jobs, the businesses need to run. But I feel there should be a balance in it. It shouldn't be like, I need to buy a car every few years.
But that's kind of like what
So
the
there's a balance within, where you put in energy to manufacture a product, and it should last a certain time to justify the energy put in.
yeah.
And at the same time, there should be a balance where there is a turnover cycle, right? People buy a new product and it's still keeping the market alive.
See, there has to be a balance, of course, but that's kind of like what's happening now with the banning of older cars, right?
Yeah.
So they think they're telling us that it's better for the environment, but it's actually trying to boom the sales of
That's trying to boom the sales of new cars. Because the amount of energy that goes to manufacture a new car and you're scrapping your car, actually it doesn't work out.
because, for example, somebody like you who's coming from the background of renewable energy, you're into solars, you're into what do you call biodiesel, you're into solar systems, you're into all that. So what happens, doggy, cute.
They should probably take the kid inside.
Okay, anyways, so yeah, you could buy a beautiful Fiat like that, or you can buy an SS80. Just look at it, all sad. Even its headlights are sad. People are gonna hate on me, right?
Keep hating on me.
I like the SS.
I like the SS80.
Yeah.
From all the 800 variants, it's pretty retro.
I think it looks really nice.
If I was getting one, I would get one of those.
Yeah, it's nice, it's small. That's the whole thing. This is actually a very large hatchback.
This looks small from the outside, but inside it's really spacious. Even if you fold the seats, like you get like a flat bed behind, you can literally sleep there. And it's very spacious, the legroom. I haven't taken the seat behind, this is the normal position.
So yeah, now we'll be showing you guys my Uno. Does it deserve the attention? So yeah, it's quite rough. What's happened is they've probably added some stuff. This is a very early model, right? I think this is one of the...
98. Yeah, it has a Weber carb. It's a 98 or a 97, or probably earlier. I don't know. You should know. You bought it.
Oh, yeah, I haven't checked. So the thing is, probably somebody has picked this up when it was hard to get, and they've done things like added power windows. Like over here, we have a whole power window unit. And this is something that's
That's not factory, that's
exactly.
aftermarket.
Did the Uno ever have
It did come with power windows, like the
in
cutout.
India?
Yeah, the cutout on that door, that's the size of the power window switch. That side would have one switch, this side would have two switches, and just
Okay.
for the front windows.
Okay, so nothing for the back.
No. But
Okay.
it looks like he had added for the back at one point.
Yeah, because this does have 4 switches. So stuff like this, I didn't see the point in getting a new door card and fixing this up. Maybe we'll just take it out. If we go ahead with this project,
Yep.
this 1.6, maybe we'll just pull out these door cards. The interior is quite rough. I'm not sure what we would do there. Maybe we'd take it out and paint it, because
Yeah.
I really like the black
The
dashboard.
black dashboard on mine.
Yeah, it looks
This is
really...
black. This is not the grey ones. It's just that it's facing
Really?
better, yeah.
I thought this was grey.
No, the
Like
later
the-
cars after 2000 came with a grey dash.
Yeah, the previous Uno I had was grey, and I kept telling Clayton I really need a black dashboard, because it looks much nicer. It gives a nice contrast to the whole thing, right?
And looks a bit more premium.
Yeah, the plastic on it looks quite dull. So this is as rough as it gets. I don't think anything rougher would be considered car. I don't think you could use it on the road, right? So we do have problems like leakages and stuff like that.
There's water on the floor.
There's water on the floor. But yeah, this is just something to have fun and experiment with. So on that note, we'll see you guys again
See you.
next time. Say bye to Clayton.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Yeah, I'm not saying that like, share, subscribe. Why don't you say it?
Okay. And before you go, remember to like, share and subscribe, because you'll be seeing more of the lair of the Rusty Cashew in the upcoming videos.
Okay. See ya. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Bye.